Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Silverspook, and this is the Silverspook video about Diablo 4 demonic microtransactions, also known as macrotransactions, and Hell on Earth. Um, and so we'll also be looking at why New York City and New York State, and well, a lot of the North American continent looks like a hell level from this video game. So, this is going to be a shorter video because I have things to be doing. I have a panel coming up very soon in less than an hour and a half. So it's gonna be shorter, but I think people like shorter videos nowadays. So let's just see how this goes. Diablo 4 is a game that just came out. This is like the cover art. If you don't play games, but if you're clicking on this, you probably might know something about this. So it's a very big franchise for the PC gaming world. Diablo, if you played PC games in the 90s, you probably remember the first one. I actually recently was just playing some of that with my kids, kind of reliving the magic of, staying a while and listen with Kane, the Deckard Kane, the oblique Blade Runner reference, who identifies your items and sets you off on your journey to stop evil in a church. We'll come to that, but underneath the church, these dark forces have come and corrupted everything inside and below the church. There is catacombs. Below that, there are these caves that are filled with lava. Below that is actual hell. So it's a dungeon. It was like one of the first isometric RPGs for on the computer. One of the first big ones, let's say, the PC isometric RPG, kind of real time. I guess a similar game that wasn't real time would be like Fallout. Was a PC game set in a dystopian wasteland, but it was a game that was similarly like let me get Diablo 1. Just this is just a little bit of a history lesson, just because I'm old and I'm 40 years old. I'm an archaic eldritch millennial, reliving nostalgia as the United States and Canada set themselves on fire, and trying to breathe through my HEPA filter, trying to breathe through my respirator, with not eating in too much COVID and wildfire ash, while playing retro video games to survive. Anyways, so this was the original, right? It was kind of an isometric RPG. You're like hacking and slashing. You're collecting the falcons and scimitars and what else is there? Great swords, and then you get a bigger sword. You get a bigger level. It's straight up just kind of one of the original mid '90s RPGs that kind of like popularized that format. You can choose your sorcerer, you can choose your warrior, you can choose rogue, which is archer. There's only one. There's basically one character skin, and there's one. There's a girl, that's the rogue. There's the warrior, that's the default, that's the white guy, and then there's the black sorcerer. And it is the 90s, and there's a limited space, so there's not this whole total customization options. You can't like have you can't like choose your gender of character and then choose the race and then choose the height. There's nothing like that. It's just like, here's a sprite. We have a sprite sheet. Like I was actually thinking about doing a Diablo mod myself, because I'm a game developer, right? And it's like there is a system called Devolution is the one that I was recently using, which is a port for Diablo 1 that has modern quality of life and makes this 30-year-old game function on modern computers. So that's really cool. So I was like, oh yeah, because I've been trying to get the original Diablo to work on my PCs now, but it can be difficult. I did get it to work on like one, but I was trying to network all of the home computers together so me and the kids and everyone else who wants to play could play. and that was tricky. But with this new kind of harkening back to what I was talking about last week, which is that a lot of the mid '90s games, which if you want to hear more about that, you can go to the previous YouTube video on this channel to learn about System Shock and why System Shock and why '90s games are better. So if you want to learn about that, you can go here. But so Diablo is another game that is one of those. I think of it as like a seminal, very important pillar of the gaming history. It's an important game in the sense of what it. That's not it, this one, yeah. System Shock. Why none of these games are better? And I was talking about like how like it was a different world in which those games are made. And so I'm gonna recap a little bit of that because Diablo 4 has. It's not Diablo 1. It's a bigger game, like I'm saying. It's a game made for potentially, well, not billions of people probably, but, hundreds of, tens of millions of people probably are going to be playing it, right? So it's, whereas System Shock, it sold like, was it far less than 1 million copies and it was considered a success. So this is, and so these modern upgrades are definitely part of kind of revitalizing those games that were made in a different way with different outcomes, with smaller teams, with less big corporate greed. Let's just call it corporate greed for now until we get a little further in. With less corporate greed and the profit motive determining every aspect of the game development process, the game price, and also like how the game revenue is generated, right? The people like kind of the concept of like buying a game, the game being broken or 1/3 completed, and then being constantly tricked into paying way more than the official store price is just like commonly accepted. That's just like what games are. But it's hard to remember if you are like 20 years old, 25 years old, right? You might not have even lived in a world in which you could just buy a game and it was like $5 or $10 or whatever it was, and that was it. And then you just played the game. Even online games, you just buy the game, and then there was Battle.net, or there's you go online and you play the game, and that's it. There's no constantly oh, you want to increase your level and have a flaming sword of fire, $5. You want to you want this thing that's actually critical to playing the game in a way that's enjoyable, $3, $8, $10. I was just looking at the Diablo 4 microtransactions. They're not microtransactions. They're, as somebody said, as a YouTube commentator said, I think it was this one. The let's just jump straight to it because we only have a limited time. Diablo 4 has some of these things are $25, like, right, like, yeah, this one. This is a $25 just for a piece of clothing. It's a piece of armor or a cool helmet, like a skeleton, or some kind of a three-faced god look, or whatever kind of neat. But it's $25. It's like the price of that's like that you could buy 2 Diablos ones for that one costume, right? And it's kind of like and it is kind of like, well, that's just a costume, but it's like when you're playing in these multiplayer settings, like the appearance and like kind of expressing yourself and like trying to showing who you are to other players, it does kind of become important in the gaming world, right? It has been. I mean, it's been that way for over a decade. I remember Team Fortress hats. So that was one game I played with a little over a decade ago, and I was like, wow, you guys are spending $100 on these things. But anyways, so that whole concept of that way of monetizing, which is, I'm like, obviously people want to do that, that's okay, but it just I can never really get past that. That's part of why I don't play a lot of those games, is because it feels more like a weird high school hyper consumerist shopping experience a lot of the time. And also it's like I'm like, I don't have the time to, like I said, I don't have the time to spend like 100 hours just like shopping. And Warren Spector, the designer of System Shock and Deus Ex, used to say, I don't want the player to feel like they're just chopping wood, Or another term for that is grinding, where you're just, you're in that game and you're just you're just hacking and hacking and hacking. And you kill a goblin, you kill a kobold, you kill a ghoul, or you kill a skeleton. I was just playing some Diablo, so and then you kill another one, and you kill 25 more. You kill a boss, you get a sword. Oh, it's a sword of light. It emits light. Oh, I got a bigger, fancier sword, and I get a bigger, fancier armor. And then what? And then you're like dressed up like some kind of space alien god. And it's like then you got to get something cooler than that, and then you got to get something cooler than that, and it's just like such a, I don't know. It just at a certain point, it's just like what are we doing here? You're just like a heroin junkie, but you're consuming more platinum or diamond or swords with more made up magical BS characteristics. It's like at a certain point it becomes just an addiction, and it's kind of like maybe this isn't healthy for you or for the entire civilization. So but anyways, and so that's now of course that's that's a take from 40 years. I mean I say that having spent like what thousands of hours in StarCraft and many, at least over 100 hours in Diablo. But looking back at it, it's like, replaying the game. It's kind of like, and so when you're in that, just like hacking and slashing and chopping and then to seem like, part of coming to the demonic microtransactions, part of the demonic diabolical scheming by capitalist entities who want to make all the money that they can is to keep you locked into that infinite addiction cycle, right? And then but then in order to kind of like keep your social status, to keep you invested so much time and energy into all that shooting, fire and ice arrows and raising armies of the dead as a necromancer, and you've spent so much time in that, right? Now, in order to move to the next level, right, you have all of this sunken energy. You don't want to waste that, so you just let's pay a little bit more money. And then you'll pay a lot more money, like $25. And like, how much money do you have in your discretionary spending? Now, this is the thing. The AAA games, like I think a lot of the people who are playing them, it's a dwindling number of people who have like $2,000 to spend this month. Like, what average, like, let's come to the real world, the hell on earth. What average person in the United States or in the Western world, has, that's like, has $2,000 just lying around? The average person doesn't have enough money in the U.S. to afford even a minor car bill. It's like 60-70% people are like one, $500 bill away from absolute abject bankruptcy, possibly being out on the street, right? And many are out on the street. So and so that has a kind of sick cycle to it, where it's like preying on a lot of these times. This has been talked about a lot, but I mean, it just kind of want to bring that back that. The games and the game industry doesn't have to be so predatory and so destructive, so dare I say demonic, but that is the state that we find ourselves in. Sorry, my internet seems to be broken on this one. Anyways, I'll leave that. So it's so that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. So I think that it's also $70. So if you try to get Diablo 4 right now, you're gonna be paying through the nose for it. I mean, I don't have $70 to be throwing at no games right now. I don't know about you. Diablo 4 price. It is also recently been review bombed. It's yeah. So if you buy it, you can get. Let's see what you got. You have the standard edition. Is $70. Okay, so the standard edition is $70. Okay, I guess big games have costed about $60 for a while, but still, that's still a lot. And it's not just $70. $70 plus potentially hundreds of dollars for all of these additional macro transactions, big in-game transactions that you're going to be paying through the nose for. The deluxe edition is $90, which includes the Temptation Mount, Hellborn Carapace, Mount Armor. It's just you get like a few extra bonuses for yourself. You see, like what I'm saying is right. Ultimate Edition, you get top tier version gets you everything included with the previous titles. It also allows you to skip 20 tiers. So you see what that is if you pay another. at the outset, if you pay an extra $30, again, that's two Neofeuds. You know what I'm saying? When Neofeud's on sale, that's like six Neofeud. Neofeud is my game. That's an indie, cyberpunk adventure game, right? Just let's just compare the price real fast. Okay, so you can get one Diablo deluxe edition, right? Ultimate edition or whatever that was, or you can get 5 to 10 Neofeuds depending on if it's on sale. You know, so I just want to throw it out there. Just I think Neofeud's a good deal at that point. There's 0 microtransactions. You don't need to once you buy the game. That's it. You just play the whole game. Now it probably doesn't have the same length of time. It doesn't have like all the production value bells and whistles. But I think the story's better than any Blizzard game. I can actually guarantee that because Blizzard stories are, they're not terrible, but they're passable. They're like the story of the Blizzard game is kind of like your average Pizza Hut pepperoni pizza, which is like it's okay. You can eat it. And I am maybe I'm being a dick, but I don't care because they have billions and trillions of dollars that they're making, charging people through the nose, like hacking their brains with literal AI called dopamine that are trained and designed by psychologists to make people basically take all the money in their credit cards and bank accounts and go bankrupt. That's literally what game companies spend all the time doing. And so, I don't feel bad about insulting the quality of their games at all. So just like the deluxe version, the Ultimate Edition of Diablo 4 is only digitally available. But so the point is that like you can even in this Ultimate Edition, you can get it for $100, right? And the $30 that you're paying is going into literally just buying. You're buying your way past the grinding, the chopping wood, the slogging through mountains of demons at the low level, right? So it's that's a lot of things pay to level, right? In the 2010s, in fact, Steve Bannon, right? Donald Trump recently was indicted again, but anyways, this is not what this is about. Speaking of demonic entities, demonic entity. No, every U.S. president is a demonic entity. Let's be real. But speaking of demonic entities, Steve Bannon, right, who is Donald Trump's advisor, actually one of his kind of crooked endeavors before he was Donald Trump's presidential campaign manager, his architect of his Trump and also of Brexit and a lot of global political actions. Steve Bannon actually managed or operated a Chinese, what was called the Chinese Gold Farm. It was about over 10 years ago in the late 90s, early teens. And the Chinese gold farms were going into Blizzard games, right? You would have all these poorly, terribly paid Chinese people, right, with Steve Bannon cracking the whip, not necessarily physically, I don't think, but and then having these Chinese people paid like very low amounts of money to grind through World of Warcraft, right? I don't know if anybody remembers this, right? So World of Warcraft, which is also it's the same company that makes Diablo. Chinese people, 1,000 of them, would be like grinding through these, just beating characters and just like killing orcs and goblins and trolls and whatever to get experience and gold and loot and treasure and lightning Ultima swords of black hole or whatever, like the spell of ultimate meteor shower and Bruce Willis, drilling holes in meteors. Yeah, that's gonna be my Blizzard spell when I make my Diablo is gonna have a spell that instead of raining meteors, it rains Bruce Willis from Armageddon's. It rains Harry Stamper, American oil platform operators just come falling out of the sky and they crash land and don't save the world. That's what and then that saves the world because we don't need any American oil companies. So I do. So all jokes aside, though, the world, the gold farms were about just having people paid very terrible wages in other countries, level up characters, collect gold, collect powerful items, and then give that character straight to a upper middle class, usually a white guy somewhere in New York City or Florida, right, who wanted to not a Chinese person. in this time. Like China is doing much better now. It's different now, but you can it's actually this part of the progress that you can see happening in that country is they're not doing that anymore. They're not grinding like some kind of digital peasant for their feudal lords or their masters in America. Steve Bannon taking a profit selling. Steve Bannon was like like it was like a colonial United Fruit Company or Hawaii Dole pineapple baron, right? Using underpaid global South labor, grueling away in some horrible colony, getting whips cracked at their back, being paid in a bowl of rice a day, to make pineapples or sugarcane or bananas, right? And Chiquita bananas and send them to America, who are then consuming, middle class people consuming all of this produce with their colonial benefits. But it was digital colonialism where it's like, it was Steve Bannon was the Dole Baron, grinding the plantation labor of the digital World of Warcraft gold farm. It's literally like a gold plantation. It was gold. The digital gold in the video games. So it was digital gold, loot, and character levels. So you have a powerful character without having to spend dozens of hours or more working to get there. You could, if you had like 100, whatever, I don't know what the cost of the characters are, because I never did such things, but you could just buy your way into a level 70 Tauren Chieftain. That's actually a band name, but that's also a thing that you can acquire in World of Warcraft. So you could buy a really cool, fancy character the same way that you might buy a cool, fancy laptop or buy, a fancy microphone or buy a really nice looking guitar, but then don't have any skill in playing it, right? Because the thing is, like, that would be the case. So you'd have people that have really powerful characters, but they might not be very skilled. So there'd be somebody in, they'd be an American in New York City with a lot of money, paying for this fancy character, but they wouldn't be very skilled at it. And so they'd actually get mad. I remember in Reddit, this was a huge thing in Reddit. These terrible there's too many Chinese in my World of Warcraft. And so people in the United States and the West would get upset at the Chinese people in the games because they might even be, speaking to each other in Chinese, or they try not to talk, right? They're just trying to keep their job to survive, right? But then the people who bought the very high powered character with the fancy armor were getting upset that there were too many Chinese people around. This is racism. Okay, that's just colonial mentality right there. But and also because they weren't very good at the game. But it's like, you're not very good at the game because you haven't been playing it. You just wanted to buy your way into looking cool. I mean, this is Elon Musk, right? He's not very good at anything. Making cars. He didn't even know what kind of filters were in his own Teslas. The community notes were placed on Elon's tweets about what kind of air filtration system his own Teslas have, because he didn't know what was in his own cars. But that's kind of like, on the smaller scale, a wealthy person from the West buying an Asian leveled and Asian digital labor exploited character. And so anyway, so that's just another aspect of this. And so that's a kind of side story too. When people are buying their fancy characters, right? That's another way for the companies to make money, basically. Having people who have some of the discretionary spending. Now, on one hand, you could be like, well, why do we care about somebody who makes $500,000 a year in Florida, New York, or London, if they want to spend money on that? I mean, it's true, but also it's kind of like, this is also making it hard for a lot of people who would like to play games and not go bankrupt, because it does. It actually, like, when kids play the game, sometimes it can get out of hand. Parents get the credit card. There's so many infinite stories of families missing their rent and getting kicked out of their place, getting evicted because a kid was playing like a FIFA soccer or something. This is so many stories, right? I know. Well, I mean, if you've been paying attention, if you're not from the gaming world, you might not know that. But if you don't know that, yeah, these quote unquote microtransactions, which is just a really duplicitous word to basically mean online casino money grubbing, shady actions, which is just normal capitalism, right? But it's like they actually cause people to lose their place of living. They can't make their medical bills. They people are and families break up. There's divorces happen because of this stuff. Like, the number one reason for divorce is this arguments and fights over finance and these kinds of things. These addictions like gambling, like drugs, like alcoholism, and like all kind of other things that you could end up spending a lot of money on as, it's often the husband, but not necessarily, spending all this money on this other thing, and then the wife or the rest of the family going, where the heck did all the money go? That's another thing that happens. And so, anyways, these are all just like negative impacts of the demonic microtransactions. So anyway, and so I gotta go soon. So I gotta keep my eye on the time. Yeah, I gotta be out of here very soon. So I want to wrap this up fast. But the Hell on Earth thing, I just wanted to kind of note is that New York. I don't know if you saw this week, right? Did you see that Diablo 4 ad in New York? It was a Diablo ad is suddenly very poignant as New York suffers. I don't know if you see this. It's like so if you don't know, I mean, it's not funny that people are suffering the impacts of actual real hell on earth climate change. Well, it's not quite hell on earth, but it's not good, right? So this is a picture from New York City, right? And there's an ad for Diablo 4. I'm trying to zoom in on that. So the sky that's the New York sky, and that's the New York weather, which is welcome to hell, New York, 6623. You should have put it 666, but I guess we can't go back in time. It's like the reason why that's happening, of course, you probably have heard of this if you are paying attention, is that there is, of course, a cloud of yellow smog. It's hellish. Not to miss a trick, the quick-minded marketing team behind it, hit game Diablo 4, put out a cheeky ad just for Big Apple's sweltering denizens. Or was it just a devilish coincidence? I think that it's a coincidence. I don't think that they I don't think that they're that good at marketing, to be honest with you. If they were, they wouldn't be having all these terrible microtransactions. And also, Bobby Kotick is a terrible person. And he's this guy, CEO, Activision CEO, is still blaming outside forces for the toxic culture that he manages and the mountains of money that he gets. He's embattled in all kinds of problems, controversies, and lawsuits. Also, regulators are the greatest threat to innovation. So basically, like, we should never be regulated. Just let us do whatever we want. Let us make mountains of money. Let us keep abusive culture in our workplaces. Let's have crunch. So Bobby Kotick should be the marketing for Diablo. This face. This is the face of evil. It's kind of like Pat Robertson. What's his name? The nasty, terrible far right fundamentalist Christian that just passed away. Thank goodness. That's gonna also be a Diablo demon that you have to fight. So when you get to hell, you're gonna meet Pat Robertson, and then Henry Kissinger is soon gonna die. Then you're gonna have to fight him. Lilith is actually pretty base compared to all these people. Really, very nice, very nice. Lilith is the name of this demon that is the big bad in the Diablo 4. But Lilith is just like a cream puff, very nice, very pleasant person compared to Bobby Kotick and every Western CEO and every president of the United States, and as well as Henry Kissinger. So and Pat Robertson. So that should be the pantheon of demons. Pat Robertson, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Bill Gates, and then you have Jeff Bezos. That should be who you fight at the end. But we don't live in a world where there's any kind of functional sanity, certainly in the Western world. So that's what we gotta put up with is literal hell on earth. Hell on earth is having Bobby Kotick as your boss. So anyways, but that is kind of a problem that the game industry continues to have, which is why you have to support your indie devs and non-giant corporation, non-capitalist cooperatives such as Silver Spoon Games, which is what we are here, and also. So and of course climate change, actual temperatures rising on Earth. That is not a joke. That is real. That is what's happening, which is because the New York air is the way that it is because there are huge wildfires, right, all over the North American continent. Now, it's important to remember that the people are talking about the Canadian fires. Canada is sending their fire air, their smoke, to New York City. The fact that so many people keep saying that tells you how that's the hell on earth, is how many diseducated people there are around the United States and Canada, especially in the East Coast. Sorry, this thing is not gonna let me get there. I just want anyone. As Canadian wildfires turn New York air hazardous, frontline workers battled through the haze. You know, like the air quality rapidly deteriorated. A thick layer of smoke descended. Okay. It looks like I'm not gonna be able to do this. I just want some picture of it. Yeah. So like there's lots of, this looks like Blade Runner 2049. You know, because I am a cyberpunk creator, and so you know I love me some Blade Runner 2049 imagery. You know, because it's all part of my jam as well. I don't like it in reality. I'd rather it stay in fictional universes that science fiction writers such as myself produce. But wildfire smoke does make near air quality the worst in the world. Those are pretty amazing. The worst in the world. A lot of people are also getting upset. Speaking of China and the gold farms, China at that time in the late in the noughties, China, because it was the industrial powerhouse of the world, making all of the West's products and the world's products, a lot of cities had large factories, had a lot of extra pollution. But China has since that time dealt with it. And in fact, the Chinese cities are like science fictional utopias. Like just as one example, real quick, just as a little example of how it's kind of gone the opposite way in the last 14 years. I see Carl. I know he's posted something about this. Probably should have saved that video so I could get straight to it. But yeah, each guy posts a lot. New York. Yeah, here's one. People in New York City, air quality is New York air quality is like China right now, right? So this is one of the examples of the, like, it's so terrible in China. It's so terrible in China, right? This is China right now, all right? I don't know if you can see this, okay? So China is totally fine, actually. The Chinese cities, I mean, they did have a big environmental pollution problem. They had a big air quality problem, right? And people did have to wear masks. The thing is, people actually wore masks, unlike in New York City. And in the West, where people don't wear masks for COVID or for wildfires. It's just like, I'll inhale vast quantities of particulate matter and dust and deadly global not over pandemics and kill myself, because that's freedom. Freedom is when I breathe deadly substances, wildfire and COVID, right? That's the kind of world that's the dystopian hell on Earth, right? But it's actually, China's not having that problem. Also, yeah, this is another thing too. It's actually like I said, like hospital services, college tuition, college textbooks, child care, nursery, medical care service. These are all things that the Chinese did not. Those are the things that have all been jacked up, 150%, 200%, 250% for the medical care. It's unhinged. It's just wild how terrible it's gotten. Everybody knows this. That's not China. That's the United States private billionaire money grubbers leeching and sucking as much wealth as they can out of the average population by overcharging them for all that stuff. The Chinese actually made wireless telephone service, all kind of tech, computer toys, home furnishings, televisions, everything you need in your household, down to the nuts and bolts on your cell phones, all that kind of stuff, right? That all got cheaper. That actually trying to help you out. The price, the time and energy it took to get a level 70 Tauren Chieftain in your World of Warcraft, or to get a level 100 warrior with a armor of awesome dudeness, power fantasy magic sword of galactic gamma ray bursts. I don't know what when you get to nightmare mode level 100, I don't know what kind of weapons they give you, right? But just right, the time it takes you to get there was actually also reduced by cheap Chinese labor. Not that they should have been paid so terribly, but it's actually only things that have been beneficial in that sense. The things that have really been getting more expensive and hurting people, right? It's all those other things, right? The inflation is only very recently, and it's in things that are also produced in the United States. In fact, right? Housing also has gone up. They didn't really accounting for that accurately, I feel, in this. But anyways, so again, it's like where's that sci-fi city though? There's like a there. Yeah, here. Check this out. Check this out. So like, while the United States and Canada are turning into hell on earth, China is literally living in a science fictional utopia, or near utopia. It's not perfect, but it's like as good as you can possibly get it. It looks like what people wish they were living in. And the United States keeps on saying this is like dystopian. Because actually, as a cyberpunk creator, a lot of the dystopian fiction was Western imperial attempts to project badness onto Asian cities, which were progressing rapidly. There's a lot of Orientalism and that kind of racism involved as well. But in fact, the cities of the future are not in the United States. They're not in Europe. They're not in Canada. They're all embroiled in wars that they have caused themselves. These colonizers. That's what I call them as a native indigenous white person. But anyways, who has been demonized by them. So the point is that the hell on earth is not necessarily universal. And in fact, the people who were doing the gold farming have improved their situation when people in the United States and the Western capitalist world, colonial world, have actually been sliding backwards in many senses, and maybe they want to think about learning about why that is, and I give you some hints. It starts with an S in it, and or a C, and it ends with an ism. But anyways, let's go back to the finish this up because it's now 11. So anyways, so Diablo 4 is a game that you can get. I'm not gonna get it because I don't have $70 plus $200. Also, my computer probably can't even run it. Also, I don't have time for that kind of games a lot of the time. But I did like the first one, and Diablo 2 is also a lot of fun. Way back in the day, and it is fun to play games. But I personally find that I don't know. I'm like, we play games and then you play, but you kind of want to the most fun part was actually playing with the kids. It was like playing the game again for the first time, watching the kids enjoy their first going into the dungeon. My son was really into talking to the drunk guy, Farnham the drunk. He just kept on talking to him. It was like, Farnham, the drunk in Diablo 1. I don't know if anybody remembers this. If you're a 40-year-old gamer, if you know the sound of the 14.4 modem, you remember this guy. He's all like, they're killing all my friends, Big Clay, and he has this. Yeah, they have really silly accents. It's like it's like small teams of 10 people, right, made this game. You remember? And so that was a lot of fun. I mean, the thing is the characters it's not a huge, massive world, but I kind of think that having worlds that take thousands of hours or hundreds of hours to get through. Fantasy worlds that take hundreds or thousands of hours to get through maybe aren't maybe we don't need those, maybe stories that you can consume in some reasonable amount of time that don't also circumvent a lot of your ability to exist in the real world, where there are real problems like climate change, like COVID, capital greed and destruction, and people need to be unionizing. Maybe worlds that take 18 hours of your 24 hours a day, and suck your entire energy out and leave you a husk who is just ripe to join some terrible right-wing group or hate women, like all the Gamergate and incel community, which is basically a result of millions of young middle-class white boys growing up into, or just Western mostly boys, growing up into hyper addicted 30 to 40 to now 50-year-old terribly adjusted people who spend thousands of hours all day long in virtual worlds that, what are you really doing there? You just whacking the same skeleton and the same zombie. Even when I was playing Diablo 1, at a certain point I'm just whacking the same zombie. I'm not. It's nothing really what are we getting out of this? If you just want to whack, go chop some wood and make a fire or something. Do something not a forest fire. Prepare your actual dinner or something. But it's kind of it's but then capitalism's incentives are to like our opium, which they narco traffic into China to make trillions of dollars historically. These people coming out of Europe, the heroin dealer doesn't have any incentive to care about the quality of life of the heroin user, right? The opium dealer from Britain and the United States dumping it into China in the opium wars to subjugate them. That's part of why they have been where they are, but now they're out of the opium wars and they're out of the digital opium wars. They're trying to stay out of it, right? Both the physical and also the actual chemical, but also the digital. They limit screen time for children and they limit like multiplayer online games for children because they know, right? The digital opium of World of Warcraft and Diablo demonic microtransaction life suck, right? They know that is they recognize that is a similar impact on human development and human civilization, right? In the same way that getting addicted to narcotics and then living and your life falling apart because you're just only living for this drug destroys your life. And so that's a good place to end it. So winners don't do drugs. You see, that was the point of Neofeud, right? If you play this game, that I have to now promote to you because I don't have a marketing team because I'm one person making Neofeud 2. Neofeud is a game whose motto is winners don't use drugs, just like the FBI told you in 1985 on your Mario game. And so that's not the only point, but Neofeud is a cyberpunk, comedic, satirical cyberpunk adventure game that has a better story than every Blizzard game, and by far. And also Neofeud is also a cyberpunk adventure game that I created over the course as a one-person developer, writing art, music, programming, etc. over the course of about 2.5 years. I'm almost done with Neofeud 2. I can see the end of the road with this. I have 14 rooms left. I'm trying to get it done in 4 months if I can. At least a rough version. I can't guarantee it's going to come out right after that, but I'm like, I have 60 plus rooms done, and there's like 14 areas left. If I just hash that out. So if you want to help me get that done, because Silver Spoon Games is just we're a cooperative, and I basically do all the game design stuff. You can buy this game, support us that way. Direct support the Ko-Fi, of course, also the Patreon, and just liking, subscribing, sharing, doing all this stuff that you do to help out creators of both YouTube videos as well as other content like this. You can also get Neofeud on Steam. Neofeud is literally 5 times cheaper than Diablo. So that's a really good deal. That's a really good deal. I mean, if you want to get Diablo, you can. I don't have the level. I don't have 2,000 hours of replayability probably, but it's a game that you can get in and you get out, and it will change your life. It will change your life. Diablo will change your life. Marketing people say all kind of things that are not true, like so I'll just say that. But some people have had their lives changed when they play this game. A lot of people have cried during this game and also laughed. But so consider checking it out. Support us there. You can help us out at patreon.com/neofeud. Follow at silverspillgames at octodon.social. Also, this is me being a demonic goddess that is going to stomp on your face, eat your soul, consume your flesh, and burn you alive if you come to Hawaii. I mean, in a video game. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm just joking, but don't fly to Hawaii on vacation, okay? But you can also follow at silverspillguy and at silverspillgames on Twitter. If you also like immersive sims, like I talked about last week, could check out Terminus C. Is a low-poly cyberpunk immersive sim in the vein of 90s games like System Shock and Deus Ex. You can join the Discord there, and don't forget to follow Holly at the Tech Fairy. Holly is my partner who is always doing an amazing job modding. Holly is a poet, writer, producer, also writes for a variety show on Twitch called the Kate Nix Lounge. And so don't follow all these people. And thank you, all of you people on the Patreon list. Sorry, this video is shorter because I got to go. But thank you so much to all these people for your support. And I'll be back with something probably a bit longer. Unless everybody's like, Silver Spook, only do 40-minute videos from now on. But I'll be back probably for a bit longer next week. And thank you so much. And keep your flaming onyx scimitars of fire and brimstone polished. And try not to lose your entire life and mind grinding in microtransaction-y video games. And we'll see.